The Basketball Hall of Fame 60 Days of Summer is your chance to see your favorite basketball stars live and in person. Check hoophall.com for a complete list of all these exciting appearances and plan your trip today.
So welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This won't be your only trip to Springfield this summer.
Kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Kind of exciting, yeah.
I'd imagine. Well, let's start there. It was announced in April that you're going to be inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame. How does that news come about? How do you learn of it? Where were you?
Well, I mean, you get a call, and they let you know a letter saying that they will contact you on such and such date, and you have to block out that time. So what happened with me, I was just sitting on the couch waiting for this call and waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally I got it. I was like, wow. And so John says to me,
John DeLeva.
yes, he says, well, you know, I told you all along, Spencer, the cream always rises to the top. So you waited your turn and you're in. And I said to him, John, I don't like Kareem. You know,
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem
yeah.
Abdul-Jabbar. Why you guys? I thought you had jokes.
You like it? This is comedy hour, no?
Jeez,
I like it.
Pete, that was a great joke there.
So you knew, so when they tell you to block off this window of time, you figure what's coming. You know the message.
You know what's coming because I've been on the other end of it when it didn't happen. And when he says, well, you know, it did not happen this year, 4 years, so I was like, oh my gosh.
So what goes through your mind? You hear the news, you hang up the phone, you sit back in you're back in your chair, and what's your first thought?
My first thought was that my life started as this poor kid, as a poor sharecropper in Silver City, Mississippi. Population, 100 people. I worked 24 hours, you know, in the fields, sun up to sundown as a real worker. And to come from that background all the way to the Hall of Fame, it has to be God. It can't be no other way. I mean, that's the true blessings of it all.
And I'm going to take a wild guess that background, the hard work, paved the way, fueled your success at all levels.
Yes, it did. It fueled my success, but also it gave me a sense of that there was a higher power involved in my life because I could not make it alone out of this cotton field to the top. I just could not. I mean, I could not do it with great coaching. I could not do it with great parents, and I had all of that. But this was a higher order.
Who was the first person you were able to share the news with that it was official you were a Hall of Famer?
My daughter Isis was sitting next to me and yapping in my ear because my youngest, I have 4 daughters, and my youngest daughter is a student at UNLV, and so she was there all excited and going crazy. So, and then I shared it with my wife and my other daughters, and she took the phone over and just started talking.
So you've had some time. You've had a couple months to think about it. It's sunk in. Does it mean a little bit more, or do you think that'll change as the date approaches?
It means an awful lot, and it keeps moving more and more in a very positive state. You know, I'm thrilled by the idea that the young players who play the game, the Kobe's, the LeBron James, and all of those guys who are now, they look at me differently. They look at me like, wait a minute, this guy was a player. I mean, a real basketball player. And also they look at me as I have, you know, made them some millions by my lawsuit way back in 1970. So a couple of the guys came up to me and says, man, you know, I'm $100 million richer because of you. For these young folks here sitting there looking like, what is he talking about?
What is he talking about?
Well, before I came along, you had to wait for 4 years after your high school class had graduated from college before you could enter the NBA. I sued the NBA sued me, and we fought all the way to the Supreme Court. Thus, the ruling Haywood versus the NBA was handed down, and from that, guys were able to leave college early, or in some cases, they did not go at all. Like LeBron and Kobe and some of the other guys' case, they didn't go to college at all. So with 4 years of playing at $25 million a year, that's why they come with the number $100 million.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
So on today's landscape, when you have the Kentuckys and these one and done, the guys that come in as freshmen go right to the NBA, a lot of that, all of it was paid by your effort.
Me, yeah.
And you went out. This was a risk.
Oh, it was a big time risk, and always I had. I mean, there was some. I took some bumps for it,
yeah.
Big time bumps for it, because I mean, you got the NC2A who is saying, well, when I fought the case, that this is the end of college basketball as we know it, and we'll never be able to make revenues, meet our revenues that's set forth, because this guy has destroyed it and so forth and so on. But I look at what they have done last year, for an example, the two revenue sports, football and basketball, for which I changed, they made, I think it was like $12 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't affect them that much. And as far as the players are concerned, it has enhanced their growth in terms of economically. And also for the NBA had 16 teams and nowhere to pull from. So by getting guys early, we were able to expand from 16 teams to 30 teams that we have now. So, and we went from the revenue of an NBA team, which at that time was around $200 million to $2 billion today. So I'm in the mix.
And all you were doing at this point in your life, you're what, 19, 20 years old, you're just trying to create a better opportunity for yourself.
For myself, but
others.
more importantly, I was trying to create a better opportunity for my mother. My mother was still picking cotton in Silver City, Mississippi for $2 a day. $2 a day from sun up to sundown. Her back had went out, so she was picking from her knees and dragging a sack of cotton. So I just felt that it was my obligation to create some wealth so we can get out of this cotton field. And,
right.
And sure enough, I got out of the cotton field and got her all of this money and built her a home, and then guess what she says? Well, I'm uncomfortable in this lifestyle, so I'm going to go back to the field to be with my friend and my church members. I'm like, wow. So that's, I guess, is your point of happiness, what it's all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the opportunities now in today's NBA for the guys like LeBron and Kobe and all this, and we got a lot of younger guys here in the audience. You are 6'8".
6'8", yes.
Playing weight, 225?
225, 235, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if guys haven't seen you play, don't remember, haven't gone to YouTube yet, videos,
Right.
What was your game like, and who might you compare yourself most to in today's game, skill set wise, or how they handle themselves on the court or their role?
Okay. Well, let me just put a couple in. For these guys, since they don't know, I averaged in my rookie year 30 points and 19.5 rebounds for 82 games. There's two players. There's only two players in professional basketball to ever do that in the history of the game, myself and Wilt Chamberlain. Okay?
Wow.
And in my following years with Seattle, I averaged a total in the next 5 years, 26 and 12, 26 points, 12 rebounds over the next 5 years. I also am the leading scorer in USA basketball history. I held that record for 44 years until last Olympics. Kevin Durant broke it.
Him.
And I was the youngest player in the history of the game to play in the Olympics at age 19, and Anthony Davis broke it.
Oh, record.
So I got 2 more left. I have the most rebounds in the history of the Olympics, as well as the highest field goal percentage. So I should fall by the wayside. So I finished the game in my playing career with 20 and 10. So I would think that the king is the only one that could deal with what I was dealing with.
There's some good company there.
Yes,
some of the names you mentioned that are competing against you. Let's get back to the Olympics now. 1968, Mexico City.
Yes.
And I know there were some high-profile players then that did not play. Lou Alcindor, Elvin Hayes, Wes Unseld. So you guys may go in as...
Oh, man, you got all of them right here in the back of me. Well, what happened in the 1968 Olympics is there was the riots had broken out in Michigan, all over the country. And blacks were crying for equal rights on the playing field and whatever. So Harry Edwards called a black boycott of the 68 Olympics. And so Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stepped out of it. He didn't go. The same thing happened with Elvin Hayes. He did not try out or didn't go. Wesley Unseld didn't go. And then they assembled all of us players together at the tryouts, and then you had like Bob Lanier and those guys did not go as well. So they brought in this 18-year-old kid, which is me, and said, well, he might be able to make this team. And sure enough, I made the team. But the guys who got cut from that team, the great pistol Pete Maravich got cut from the U.S. Olympic team. Calvin Murphy was cut from that team. And so we were off and running with what we had. And JoJo White, who's going in with me on this year's class, and we got out there and just started playing and playing and playing. And lo and behold, it was the first year that everyone had said that this Olympic year was going to be the first time that we lost the Olympic Games and USA basketball. And lo and behold, we won it all. And I'm just grateful because that was the start of everything for me.
It has to be an unbelievable feeling having a gold medal.
Yeah, that gold medal is the highest honor. This is going to be the #1 come September. But right now, as I stand, I have a world championship with the Lakers. I have a gold medal with the 68 Olympics, and that outweighs everything.
Some good company there.
Good company. Thank you.
Talking about the Lakers team 1980, you're a teammate now of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
You got this hotshot rookie, Magic Johnson, coming in.
Well, let me just take them back to when we first started assembling this team. You know, what happened was we were putting together this team. Jerry West and Bill Sharman was putting together this super team. And so we got me to transfer from New Orleans to the Lakers. And we were at training camp, and we kept like, this guy just making all this noise. And we were like, man, because Kareem and I and a lot of the other guys had been in the league for quite a while. You know, we were like, training camp. And Magic just going off. Oh, my God, this is great, guys. Come on, partner. We were like, get off. What are you doing? This is the beginning of the season. So, and then we started to get into it. It was like, wait a minute, this is something special because he was bringing that enthusiasm and that joy to the game that we had sort of like pushed aside because we had got old and jaded a little bit, so we started to feel like kids again, like these young guys here, feeling like really joyful just to play. And he brought that to us, and boy, what a year. And I remember our first exhibition game was against the Clippers, not the Los Angeles Clippers, the San Diego Clippers. And so it's the same team, just moved from location. And boy, we were playing out there, and we hit, Kareem had turned around, hit a long jump, hook shot, and we just all dived on him in the middle of the, and it was preseason. I never had that experience before. We knew we was on to something special, so we went on and win the world champion that year. And they had another excitement going on the East Coast, because that was the same year that Larry Bird came into the league. So it was this new energy and this new level of like joy that was taking place in the NBA that I'll never forget.
Now, your career pretty much, 1970 through the mid-'80s.
Yes.
You played with some tremendous players. You played against all-time greats.
Well, I started playing against Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, Willis Reed, Dave Cowens, and that level of guys, all the way until that guy came in with long shorts. Oh, you mean Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
These guys don't know what I'm talking about.
Who were the toughest guys to play against, at least maybe position-wise or competitor-wise on an opposite team?
Well, it's always this guy that you had some problems with, and that guy was Rick Barry was one of them. I mean, he was something special, and Dave DeBusschere was strong enough that he could control me a little bit and hang with me. But I pretty much had my way, but it was I mean, every night in and night out, it was not like cherry picking and like we have somewhat today. It's like you had a real game ahead of you, and it was physical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, 6'8", the game has changed so much over the years. 6'8", you'd almost be an undersized point guard in today's game.
Exactly.
And where would you be if you were Spencer Haywood? You're 19 years old.
Well, can I just say one thing? My first game in Seattle, and this was the new era of the new ball coming in. I ripped the ball off the backboard, and I dribbled it up. For one thing, that was like a no-no. A big guy pushing the ball up the floor. And I dropped it through my leg, and I just went up from the free throw line, and I dunked it, and I turned around and looked at the audience, and I was like, yeah. And they were like, yeah, the hot dog.
All right.
He's a young hot dog. And so, I mean, it took him about a week to understand the style of play and what was going on. And Lenny Wilkins, my point guard at the time, he was feeding me righteously. And the Sonics and the Seattle fans just fell in love with the style of play. And that was the ushering in of the new style of play. And then Julius Erving came in after and so on. So it became that style of play. But, yeah.
Of the NBA teams you played for, Seattle, New York, New Orleans, the Lakers, Washington, is there a particular team you identify most with, or you think that fans might say, oh, Spencer Haywood, he's a
Knick, but because we don't have a team in Seattle anymore, they moved the Seattle Supersonics to Oklahoma. And so without a logo, without a brand, you just, who is he, Right. But I identify with Seattle because I went all the way to the Supreme Court, and I mean that was not like a fun battle. That took 1 year out of my life, and during that battle, the attorneys had an injunction for me not to play, and I couldn't set foot on the playing floor. And it was like I was being announced as a illegal player on the floor, and he must be escorted out of the arena, and they would have a 10-day injunction. So it was a real brutal battleship going on. So I guess my love and my consciousness will go there. Okay. But when I came to New York, I was able to marry my first wife, have my first baby, and I played with I played with some pretty good players there: Phil Jackson, Walt Frazier, Earl Monroe, Bill Bradley, John Giannelli. I mean, just a list of great players there with the Knicks. And I had the great Red Hosman coaching, And then after he left, Willis Reed came in as my coach. So New York is pretty cool.
It is. And you've had obviously the opportunity with the cities, New York and LA and Washington, D.C., and some big market teams.
Big market team.
Yeah. So younger kids here now, obviously they love basketball. They're starting to learn the game and progress and advance. Any advice to the kids when they start playing? I don't know how young you were when you started playing, if you were always tall. Was it a game that came easy to you?
No, it wasn't. I was the worst player ever. And I was playing, my first basketball, to be honest, was, we didn't have money like these guys got a lot of money. So they can buy their basketball and they have good gym shoes. I didn't have any basketball. I didn't have any gym shoes. So my mother decided, hey, you boys want to play basketball? I will make you a basketball. How do you make a basketball? You put this cotton into a ball, and then we were created out of a croquet sack or a gunny sack, however you would pronounce it in this East Coast area. And she put the ball in, put all of that in, and said, you guys get 2 to 3 bounces in your mind, and you pass it, but you have to speak out loud with your bounce. So we go bop, bop, and make the pass or make the shot. Mm-hmm. And so we were playing just for fun. I loved the game for just the fun of it all. And that's how I started playing. I just fell in love with just fun of playing basketball. Then when I got a bounce in basketball, it was like incredible. And then I never got a chance to play on a gym floor until I was in junior high school, because everything else was dust bowl and no concrete, but dust bowl. And so being in the country, it was pretty exciting. And I always loved the game in the sense of it's the joy of the game. And it's like you got to have a love for it. And you cannot look at, well, I'm going to be a professional, I'm going to be a college player, I'm going to be a high school player. These are the products of the love for the game and hard work. Now, what you can think about is this. If you work hard at it, you can get a 4-year scholarship to a college or a university. That saves your parents $200,000. Did you hear me? $200,000. So think about that, and you get a great education. You get all of the things that you want in life and be a part of something. And even in high school and junior high school, you're the king on the throne. So basketball is very, very, very good.
Heard that before. Nice job. What we're going to do now is, while we continue our 60 Days of Summer program with Spencer Haywood, if anybody in the crowd has a question they'd like to ask of Spencer, please raise your hand. Some of the Hall of Fame staff will come around, and they'll pick you out. They'll line you up over here in the corner, and you'll have an opportunity to ask him one question. So put your hand up if you have a question, and we'll find you. Your life, I know in a perfect world, there's a perfect path to success or your goals. Unconventional, I guess if you call it, unconventional lifestyle. And I think somewhere it's been quoted, you said that your life has been kind of a reality show before there was a reality show.
Big time.
You seem to have a great attitude about handling adversity, challenges, anything that comes in your way. How important has attitude been?
Attitude is very important because, I mean, I was a reality star before the reality television was invented, because when I came to New York, for an example, after all of this Supreme Court and all of my exploits on the floor, I ended up marrying Iman, the supermodel that is married to David Bowie now. But we have one daughter, Zuleika, and that was a whole nother level of reality there, because I was in the fashion world and that whole world doing things. Some I shouldn't have been doing, but some I enjoyed. And so then when I was with the Lakers, I had a fall with cocaine, and then I bounced back from that. So, and I did it all on live, so it was, it is a reality show at its max.
But it's a good lesson that things can knock you down, but you can get back up.
You can get back up, and you can get back up, but you're gonna have to have a consciousness of God, and that's been my salvation through all of this, from the beginning until now, is my comfort zone. My joy is in God, you know. I'm able to call on God and say, hey, I'm an idiot. Can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
And God is always there.
It's a good place to ask.
Thank you.
You will have an opportunity on the weekend of September 11th here in your induction to the Hall of Fame to give a message, a Hall of Fame speech, something I know you're preparing to give.
Mm-hmm.
Any particular message that you plan to share in that great forum?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I would like to explain to young folks and to old and to whoever in between that this game of basketball is life. It gives you the winning, the highs, the losing, the lows. You can be on the floor with a complete strangers and don't even speak. We don't even speak the same language, but we can speak the basketball language. I can look at that person and say, "You go back door," and just by waving my, and they will do and operate on a backdoor move and get the layup. It's a universal language, and it's a language of not like rich. It's just about pour the joy and the love, because you don't need anything to play it. You just need to play. And so that's the joy of basketball.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. Those are
Thank
great
you.
words to live by.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to open up now for a couple questions, Spencer,
Okay,
and we'll
cool.
take guys up one by one. When you come up, tell us your name, where you're from, and if you have a favorite team or a favorite NBA player.
Hey, congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Rich Blodgett. I'm originally from Holyoke. And what else did you want to know? Boston Celtics all the time. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
forever.
Forever.
That's basketball.
That's basketball.
So anyway, the reason why I wanted to come down here was back in 1979, I was in Nairobi, Kenya, and walking out of a hotel, and it was a pretty busy street. I don't know if you remember that, but I looked over at you, and I wasn't sure who you were, even though I knew who you were.
Yeah.
I was a fan. And I just said NBA, and you nodded your head.
Yeah.
I asked you to give me an autograph for my nephew, Jeff.
Okay.
And when I read that you got inducted, I said, "You still have that autograph?" He's 50 years old now.
Wow.
And but anyway, I didn't know if you remembered that, but I sure did.
Well, you know what we were doing in 1979? We were shooting, Iman was starring in Otto Preming's movie, The Human Factor. And we were there shooting the last leg of that movie. And also, she is from Somalia, but she was living, before she came to America, from Nairobi.
Yeah. Well, I was always a fan of yours, and it's a little long overdue. I
Yeah.
do think you were overlooked for a lot of the reasons you said, maybe like a Kurt Flood thing.
Right.
You know, but you were a great player.
Thank you.
And thanks for the autograph.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich. See where basketball can take you?
Yeah.
A meeting point in Kenya of all places.
In Nairobi,
Yeah.
in Kenya.
How about that?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Rich. Next question. We have a guy with a Cavaliers jersey.
Yes.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Who's the best player in the NBA?
What?
Who's the best player in the NBA?
Kyrie.
Kyrie Irving?
My name is
Hey, okay.
my name is Dom, and I'm from Salem, and so I don't really have a favorite team, but I really like the New Orleans Pelicans, and Kyrie's my favorite player. And I was wondering what college or high school you went to.
I went to Persian High School in the city of Detroit, and we won the Class A state championship for the first time. It was a drought for 35 years. We won, and after 35 years, we won the Class A state championship, and that was a great moment. And then I came back to the University of Detroit after the Olympics, and played there at the University of Detroit, where I was the outstanding college player of the year in 1968.
Good.
Thank you.
Nice job, Dom. Good questions.
Thank you, sir.
And you didn't expect to get a question from Spencer, did you? Okay, next. I see a Knicks hat.
Oh, yeah.
New York Knicks.
Knicks.
Hi, I'm Eli, and I'm from New York.
Hey, Eli.
Hi. I was wondering, who are some of your favorite teammates to play with?
Well, since you got on a Knicks hat, I mean, I can't go too far. I enjoyed playing with Walt Frazier, Earl Monroe. Phil Jackson was really a coach back then. Even though he was a player, he was always in my ear or something. And Bill Bradley, that was some good times. Bob McAdoo. Yeah, we had some good times in New York. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. Good question.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next. Come on up. Your opportunity to talk to Spencer Haywood, who will be inducted into the Hall of Fame in September.
Hi, my name is Luca Papalardo, and I'm from Salem, New Hampshire. And
Where are you from?
Salem, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And my favorite team is the Boston Celtics, but my favorite player is Kevin Durant. And I was wondering, what year did you start playing professional basketball?
I started playing professional basketball in 1969 with the Denver Rockets in the ABA.
And you were the Rookie of the Year and the MVP.
Rookie of the Year and MVP that year.
Took it by storm. Thank you. Nice question. Good question.
Thank you.
Be some good representation from the Greylock
Yes.
camp here.
I'm Jason Selvin, and I'm from Livingston, New Jersey. I don't particularly have a favorite team or player. My question for you is...
You don't like the New Jersey Nets anymore?
No.
Okay, cool. I understand.
Who is your favorite coach to play under?
My favorite coach to play under was Lenny Wilkins because he was my first real big coach. And I had a coach before that who, let me tell you the story. My coach in the Olympics in 1968, my head coach was Hank Ivor, who was renowned, but the assistant coach was John McLendon. John McLendon was my first coach in the Denver, when I went with Denver. Now, John McLendon studied under Naismith. So all of this comes full circle, and here I sit right here in front of you. Thank
about
you.
that?
And Red Hosman was a real good friend
Excellent
of mine.
question.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, next. We got some future ESPN reporters here. They're pretty good.
Some reporters, they stunned him.
My name's Logan Thomas, and my favorite basketball player is Casey Jones. And my question for you is, how did your career start off, and how did you like it?
What was the question?
How did your career set off? How did it start for the NBA?
Well, because, I mean, I took Casey Jones to the basket. No. Is that your granddad? No? Okay.
Just checking.
Just checking. But no, it started just like a kid having fun, playing in the dirt. I mean, and it just grew out of love. And if you're going to play this game, if you just got love, you are halfway there. The rest of it will come.
And you love basketball? Yeah,
Yeah.
good job. Keep playing. Keep playing.
All right.
All right, next question. These guys are keeping you on your toes, Spencer.
I'm Calder Wilson.
Hi, Carl.
From the city. My favorite player is LeBron James.
Pardon me?
LeBron James, my favorite player.
Okay.
And I was wondering, like, when you first went into the NBA, do you ever have any, like, doubt in yourself, like, that you have what it takes looking at all the other great players?
No, I had doubts because I was so young, and I was the first young player to play, and I didn't have doubts. I just thought I had to win certain battles to get on the floor to play, but once I got on the floor, my love for the game is just, it was never about the pressure of like questioning whether I should be there or not be there. I had the love for the game. If they didn't have the love for the game, they couldn't keep up with me. And I was raised by picking cotton and working 12 hours a day, so they wasn't going to outwork me. So it was just fun. They were just paying me to have fun. So I love that.
That's a good gig. Thank you, caller. Appreciate your
Good gig.
question.
Thank you.
Now, one more question.
Hi, my name's Cameron Hoyer. I'm from Manhattan, New York City. My favorite player is probably LeBron James. And my question was, what inspired you to play in the NBA?
What inspired me to play in the NBA was I wasn't dreaming of playing in the NBA. I was just playing what was in front of me. When I was in junior high school, it was the idea that I played in a gym with a real floor. And then when I went to high school, it was to win the state championship, and I won that. And then when I went away to college, it was just to have some fun and enjoy college life. And then I was picked for the Olympics. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, maybe something is here. So I started to improve and get better and better and better. And then I realized that it was my time.
Nice
Thank
job.
you.
Great question. Great question. Thank you guys for the junior reporters and the adult reporters. Final question, Spencer. You're going to have a once-in-a-lifetime moment here in a few short weeks. What is it going to mean to you to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame?
It's just going to mean that I have arrived. I can sit at the dinner table with all of the fellow Hall of Famers. And more importantly, it solidifies my thought and my faith that God is good all the time, because he's brought me from a very low place to here. And it don't get no better than this.
It doesn't, does it?
No.
All right. Give it up for Spencer Haywood.